Hello children, today we'll be doing the next lesson from your English textbook, Morning at Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery. Lucy Maud was born on 30th November in Canada. She is best known for a series of novels beginning in 1908 with Anne of Green Gables. This book was an immediate success. She wrote many novels, short stories, poems and essays. She had a very good writing skill. Her work, diaries, and letters have been read and studied by scholars and readers worldwide. She led a very lonely life despite having relatives nearby. She created imaginary friends to cope up with her loneliness. Lucy was believed to be a very spiritual woman. Now, this extract or the story, Morning at Green Gables, is an extract from the real story, Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud. I'll tell you in short the story of Anne of Green Gables. In this story, there are three characters: Matthew Cuthbert, Marilla, and Anne Shirley. Matthew Cuthbert and Marilla are siblings, which means they are brother and sister, and they both are unmarried. They lived in a big farm in Prince Edward Island. As this brother and sister, Matthew and Marilla, they were growing old, they needed somebody to help them in their farm. They both were unmarried. They had no family of their own and no kids they had. So they decided to adopt a boy from the orphanage who would help them in this farm. But by mistake, the orphanage sent them a girl instead of a boy. They sent a red-haired, freckle-faced 11-year-old girl named Anne Shirley. Now Matthew and Marilla are shocked and surprised to see this. They were expecting a boy, isn't it? But by mistake, the orphanage sent a girl, 11-year-old girl. Matthew instantly likes this chirpy, bubbly girl, but Marilla is unsure about keeping her. This highly imaginative and cheerful Anne transformed the boring and sad life of Matthew and Marilla. They both accept her as their own daughter. They put her in school. Anne is teased by her friends for her red color hair. She had red hair, isn't it? So one day she colors her hair green, it seems. She had many adventures and disadventures at Green Gables. She slowly grows into a matured girl, and when Matthew dies, she gives up her college studies to take care of Marilla, who was slowly going blind. Now, children, you might have studied so many stories, isn't it? There are so many fictional characters. Fictional characters means characters created by the writers. You might have heard or studied about or read about Alice in Wonderland, Cinderella, Rapunzel, and now you heard or read about Anne Shirley. Now, this Anne Shirley is called as the most lovable child in the fiction by Mark Twain. She was such a lovable girl, full of life, full of energy. When you read this extract, Morning at Green Gables, you will get warm, cozy, and summery feelings with it. In this extract, Morning at Green Gables, we will see how Anne feels when she wakes up at Green Gables. For your convenience, this lesson is divided into 3 modules. The first module is from the beginning of the story till the end of page number 22. The second module is from page number 23 to the third paragraph of page number 24. And the third module is from the fourth paragraph of page number 24 to the end of the story. Now, children, tell me, what is Green Gables? Green Gables is actually a place located in Prince Edward Island, which attracts many tourists. It's a popular tourist place. There is actually a place with this name. But in this story, Green Gables is a white farmhouse where Matthew Cuthbert and his sister Marilla lived. It's a huge, beautiful farmhouse, and Anne has come to live with them. Is it clear? Now, can we start the story? Look into your books, children, page number 21. Morning at Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery. When Marilla and Matthew Cuthbert of Green Gables sent for a boy to help them out at the farm, they are in no way prepared for the error that will change their lives. The mistake takes the shape of Anne Shirley, a red-haired 11-year-old girl who loves to talk. Fortunately, her sunny nature and imagination quickly win over her unwilling foster parents. Anne's spirit soon draws many friends and much trouble her way. Not a day goes by without some exciting new episode in her life. Read on to find out what Anne found when she first arrived at Green Gables. Now here, in the introduction part, they are saying, when Matthew and Marilla were expecting a boy to come from the orphanage, who actually came? A girl called Anne Shirley, 11-year-old girl, red-haired 11-year-old girl. The word error means mistake. The word sunny nature means chirpy nature, bubbly chirpy nature. And what do you mean by foster parents? Foster parents refer to a couple who takes care of a child for a limited period of time. They are not the biological parents. So Anne's foster parents were Matthew and Marilla. So here they are saying both Matthew and Marilla are shocked to see this girl instead of a boy, but slowly they accept her. Now I will be reading the story paragraph wise. You are expected to read along with me in your mind. After one or two paragraphs, I will explain the story and the meanings. Is it clear? Now, look into your book, page number 21, first paragraph. It was broad daylight when Anne awoke and sat up in bed. She stared in a confused manner at the cheery sunshine which was pouring in through the window. For a moment, she could not remember where she was. Then she remembered. This was Green Gables, and they did not want her because she was not a boy. So when Anne woke up, it was broad daylight. She reached Green Gables the previous day. She slept there the previous night, and now when she woke up early morning, it was already daylight. The sun was up in the sky. She just sat up on the bed. She was confused. She was unable to recollect which place it was. It was a different place, isn't it? It was not an orphanage. She had come from the orphanage and she had slept here in Green Gables. Now, when you visit your grandparents' house, your cousin's house, and when you sleep there or spend a night there, and when you wake up in the morning, you have a different feeling, isn't it? The place is different, the bed and the pillow, everything is different. You feel strange, isn't it? Same thing happened here. Anne took some time to realize where she was. Then she remembered. Oh, it was Green Gables. The room was already lighted with the bright sunshine coming in through the window. Then she remembered they did not want her here. Who are they, children, here? The word there refers to Marilla and Matthew. She recollected that they did not want her to be here because she was a girl. They were expecting a boy. Is it clear? Now the next paragraph. It was morning and there was cherry tree in full bloom outside her window. With a bound, she was out of the bed and across the floor. Anne dropped on her knees and gazed out of the June morning, her eyes shining with delight. Oh, wasn't it beautiful? Wasn't it a lovely place? Suppose she was not going to stay here? She would have to imagine that she was. Now, when she looks out of the window, she was enchanted with what she saw. What was it, children? She saw a huge blooming cherry tree. Cherry tree full of flowers. Has anybody seen a cherry tree here, blooming cherry tree here? They say a cherry tree full of flowers is the very beautiful sight. The light pink colored, or you can say whitish pink color flowers, they look very beautiful. And the flowers just cover the whole tree. You can't even see the leaves. It's a real treat to the eyes. So Annie was so surprised to see this beautiful cherry tree. With a bound means to jump out of the bed. She just went across the floor and she bent down on her knees and tried to look out of the window. The word trees in full bloom means the cherry tree was full of flowers. With a bound means to jump. The word gazed means to look. The word delight means happiness. So here she's saying, when she saw this beautiful sight, she just kept on looking out. She couldn't believe that it was such a beautiful piece of nature. I told you, no children, Annie was a lover of nature, a child full of life. She felt it was a very beautiful place. Then she recollected that Marilla and Matthew may not allow her to stay there in Green Gables. But she was not going to leave this beautiful place. So she decides to somehow stay back and not to return to that orphanage. Okay, she's a determined girl. She makes up her mind. She decides that she is not going to go back. Now, the next paragraph. The huge cherry tree outside was so close that its boughs tapped against the house. It was filled with blossoms and hardly a leaf could be seen. On both sides of the house was a big orchard, one of apple trees and one of cherry trees. The grass was sprinkled all over with dandelions. The blooming cherry tree was actually the center of attraction. It caught her eyes, isn't it? She saw that its branches were touching the house. The word boughs means branches. Tapped means almost touching, leaning. So the huge tree the branches were almost touching the house. And the flowers covered the entire tree. The leaves were hardly seen. What do you mean by orchard, children? Orchard is a big area full of fruit trees. So she could see two orchards from that window. One was an apple orchard, the other one was cherry orchard. The grass was sprinkled. Sprinkled means covered with dandelions. What do you mean by dandelions? They are large, bright, white or yellowish color flowers. So the grass was almost looking beautiful and few flowers here and there, sprinkled with few dandelions here and there. Okay, a beautiful sight, very beautiful piece of nature. So Anne decides that she's not going to give up this place. Somehow she will try to stay back in this place only. So now we come to the end of the first module.